it seems to be working. So I'm just gonna, this was a test run, and just to give you guys an update for any of you that were booked for my full moon eclipse ceremony yesterday morning, which didn't take place. I couldn't get YouTube to go live. It just wouldn't work. Maybe it's to do with the privacy settings of it being private for those that have paid for their ticket. But anyway, it seems to be working now. And I will be doing the ceremony, or recording the ceremony, and sending that out to anyone that has purchased a ticket. But I wanted people to prepare for the actual eclipse itself at 12. And obviously the ceremonies you can do. One of the things that come up when I was researching into this particular ceremony was not to do ceremonies. The ancients was kind of scared to go out because of the potential of this. Eclipses were associated with big shifts, big changes, and they still are associated with big shifts and big changes. This one in particular, it's in Sagittarius. And what is eclipse? An eclipse is when the Earth and the Sun, normally this is a lunar eclipse, so the Earth, you've got the moon and everything lined up so that you can't, it eclipses the light, and you can see that on various places on Earth. So where I am in the UK, it's not visible, although this is a total lunar eclipse that's happening at 12 o'clock UK time. It will be visible, I think, Hawaii and where was the other places? Australia, New Zealand, Alaska. They see North America, not America. So will be visible, but for the rest of us, I think you can look into that further in the other spots on the Earth, but those are the ones that stuck in my head that I remembered. Around this time, it can things can, there's this expression of eclipsing things kind of just totally knocking you for six, moving to the point where you like, I didn't really expect that. I was kind of, and I kept getting the images coming through me personally. The images, the visions that I was seeing was of earthquakes. And although, because this is a super full moon, the moon in its proximity being closest to the Earth can cause tectonic shifts, I think personally this is a metaphor for the ground shifting beneath us, things being kind of like the rug being pulled out from under you. And taking you aback if you're not prepared. I have been doing a lot of preparing, and I have felt that me personally in my personal life that I know that there are big shifts. I moved house, for example, but this is a good time to move house, but it's also a good time to clean house because it's a reset. It's taking your time to maybe, because there's this sense in a lot of the signs, and it's affecting all of the astrological signs, of wanting to kind of move forward. It's like energizing. I can feel that for me today, like after a week of not feeling very well myself, allowing myself to get ill. I know that when I get ill, it's because I need to. But that happened. That kind of low, denser energy has now shifted for me. But also other things happening, changes. It might be ending a relationship. It might be an ending of a job that you were unexpected. But there's also a sense of things that you known for a long time. The inner side of you has been thinking, oh, I'm not really happy in this relationship, or not really happy in this job, or that doesn't come out of the blue. The things that we've been putting off now are gonna get a helping shove. So it's a good thing if you've, over the last 2 weeks, and I say 12 o'clock is when the eclipse happens, but astro bodies are huge. If you think of them like ships, they take a while to move, and the energies that are associated with them, they take time to come in and they take time to come out. So you have like the week either side of the potential. It's not something it happens at 12 and everything's going to be at 12 o'clock. It's happening now. It's been happening for the last week, and it will continue to happen in the next week. So there will be certain signs, and what I'll do is I'll put a link, as I was going to do, and I'll also do for the ceremony, below this video of some astrologers that I recommend that will go into more detail for each of the signs, so you can think about how it's going to affect you. But if you know your rising sign, this will help, because the rising signs around the full moon, I know I'm a fan of Yasmin Boland, so I follow her Moonology diary. She lists in the back, you always look at your rising sign and your sun sign. So your birthday is the one that you look at in the paper, that's your sun sign. And generally you can have a sun sign is just one aspect of your chart. With astrology, you need to look at the whole picture of who you are. The makeup of the attributes of what make you, and knowing you can help how you are affected by things, or how there is the potential for those archetypal energies to affect you. So then knowing this kind of gives you a heads up of how you're going to handle certain things. This is as I said, a full moon, and also a super full moon eclipse. We call it a blood moon or flower moon because it's May. Blood associated, as I said, the ancients thought of eclipse as being portals of doom sometimes, but it's not so much a bad thing. It's more that the intensity of energy is high. So whatever we are focusing on, we are going to have that potential to magnify. It will seem like it's more intense. So it's intensity of the energies that are happening in your life. So if you, as I said, if you have been putting something off and you're feeling something bad, it will highlight that. And they are actually a really good thing, because they can push us and course correct us back on to the path that we were meant to be on. So any relationships, friends, family, business, work that are not in your highest interest and your highest good will be shifting. That's what we call the eclipse things. For example, I know someone was talking about eclipse that their job ended, and then it's and I heard one of the ladies was saying it's like, oh, you go to print out the exhibition, maybe you've got an assignment that's due, and you go to print it out and the printer's not working, and then you go run over to a friend's and then they've got no paper, and then you go to a neighbour and you finally print it out, you get to your car and you've got a flat tire. It's like there's a sense of some things that are out of your control as well, that they are that's what I mean by the ground shifting. You're kind of like, whoa, what's happening? For me, yesterday I went to go live and I couldn't record the ceremony, and then I was debating and I was like, it's not working, and I had to refund the people that had booked that needed or wanted to do it at that time, and I thought it's such a shame. But then I started thinking and questioning, because there was some work I hadn't got done, and it turned out to be urgent, and so I've had to let someone else do that, and so that had come to an end. So for me personally, so these were like things that were happening, and I'm like, okay, you've got to go with the flow, just step back, trust, surrender. And there is a sense of that. I know I'm talking about me personally, of whatever happens, allow the emotions to come. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling, and I'm not saying, because I know our spiritual people, we want to not focus on, I want to be happy and positive all the time. But these new shifts, these new 5Ds, we've got to embody, and embodiment is embodying these shifts within us and allowing us to understand and go deep, to work with the shadow self, to work with our inner beings. And I know one of the things that Sagittarius is the archer, that focus, that kind of looking ahead focus. I'm saying, yes, you've got that strong focus, but you need to line up. You need to take time to pull back that arch and know what direction, making sure that direction is the right direction. And if it's been shot off at the wrong direction, we need to refocus, reset. Pam Gregory refers to this, and I love this term, defragging the hard drive. It's going over things. We've got Mercury retrograde happening, and also during the Mercury retrogrades, there's a tendency for miscommunication and technology to kind of go over. So hence, I was like, why did I even not record this prior to that? But it's working now. And at 12 o'clock when it happens, I suggest, and I will pop this video and probably send it to those that didn't get a chance to do my ceremony, but I will be doing a ceremony after. It won't be live with what I suggest you do for yourself in this time is it's a really good time to declutter. So decluttering and unpacking things within, how we feel about stuff. And I'm not one that is let's focus on the past and let's unpick all these things, but I think that knowing thyself is really important, and knowing where your patterns are, which is what the workshop will be about. How we'll do some journaling and some questions so you can do that. So if there are stuff that happens and you're feeling these shifts, and there are potential for at least, I think there was only one sign that is likely to not be affected, was maybe Scorpio, maybe because they're used to dealing with the shadow self. I'm sure that was the one that got pulled out, but don't quote me on that one. I'll add some videos for you to, if you want to look into this further and do your own due diligence. It helps if you know your chart. I know Pam Gregory and Yasmin Boland both have free things that you can get your chart up and know what is in your chart and how this might affect you, to helping in knowing yourself a little bit better and the attributes of how you can be coming from this as like, I'm going to work with it, rather than have it knocking you off for six and like a bowling ball and what do I do kind of thing. But there is a sense of this coming out of nowhere. So there might be revelations revealed. It's truth, law, and natural law of things. So I still feel like there's this, because of the moon and the potential for the tectonic plates to move, that there's the potential for that. And I can't get that image of the earthquakes in my dreams that keep coming up, eruptiveness for this year, that I keep associating. But it doesn't need to be a bad thing. I think it's the natural law of things, understanding how the natural cycles of our own cycles of life and nature's cycles of life. So those were themes that for this Sagittarius full moon, as well as the law and truth. So there's this sense of illusion. So where we may be kidding ourselves, so to speak, for me, that's, I'm like, well, where in my life am I not being honest with myself, and what around you or in society is not actually giving a true picture of things. So these are the themes for that. And as I said, law, so there might be things to do with legal matters and documentations. And one of the things with Mercury retrograde that is advised during this time is, if you have any documents, take this time to reread things, go through the fine print of things, and make sure you've got all the facts, because there are facts that will be possibly revealed that aren't necessarily obvious at the moment, or that kind of illusion. There's the Neptunian thing was coming in as well. I can't remember what the aspect was if you listen to the astrologers, but that stuck in my head because they mentioned about the smoke screen, this dreamlike state. That can mean two things. One is that our dreams are really intensified around this time. They are around the full moon anyway. And as I said, this is like 10x because it's a super full moon. It's the closest to the earth, and it's an eclipse, which is like going through the cupboards that you've kind of, all those things you've shoved in the wardrobe out of the way and not dealt with. It gets brought out, the cupboard door swung open. It's a time for that. And between now, this eclipse, and June's eclipse, this season, so we have 4 a year. The next lot, or the next family, is in November. This is a time to sort through that. So as I said, I've moved house. So for me, I'm literally going through, for the last 6 years, all the stuff that I've shoved in the garage and not wanting to deal with, stuff from when my mum passed away that I had yet to sort through, and that emotional attachment, the letting go. This is an amazing time to let go of that. So I'm going through, doing the Mary Kondo. Does it serve me? Does it bring me joy? do that with things in your life. I think that Mary Kondo quote for this time is perfect. Does it serve you? Does it bring you joy? And then to spend the time in the next few hours as well doing some detoxing. So think about where your life you are, like for me it's my health. I was really, really, really good last summer, and I loved my time with gorillas, and I was losing weight for the wedding that never took place, but I was actually focusing on getting my body in its access and eating correctly. You can be a healthy vegan and an unhealthy vegan, and I was pushing towards the unhealthy. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I know I was having lots of processed food, and sugar is my vice. But I'm course correcting that. I realised that if I don't stop, I'm down that road of gestational diabetes means potential for diabetes for me. So fixing those things that I know, but I've not got around. I know I should not have as much sugar, but not quite doing it. So how that might reflect in your own life, those kind of things. So for me, I've started that. Although they don't recommend starting new ventures around this time, the full moon is a time of coming to conclusions. So the other thing to mention about this time is the time of the sixth sun is this particular eclipse is what the Aztecs referred to as the shift from one, not quatrain, that's Nostradamus, but one cycle of the sun moving into the next cycle. And they refer to this, so all of the systems and that we have in place, that we've used and the structures that we have to create our reality are changing, are shifting. So there's this sense of things being seen from different perspective. It's not the structures aren't bad, I'm not saying they are, they're just that we can see them working in different ways, or they're not working as much. Like you've got an old phone, like I said, defragging the hard drive, you've got your firmware needs updating. Well, the reality of what we have in place and the systems we have in place, it's becoming obvious they're not working, so we need to create new ones, or look at how the old ones are used and transform. And this is kind of a theme that's through last year, through this year. Things have been brought to light with the pandemic, and how things work. But more importantly, I think the thing that comes to my heart, that's close to my heart, is obviously how we treat nature, and the natural cycles is one of the themes for this full moon. So being aware of what we put into our body, for me personally, is one that I think is one to work. How everything is connected, the water and the air. For a really, as a simple example, our air has got 20% oxygen. The majority of the oxygen comes from billion years ago, when there was a releasing with the volcanoes. Actually, the releasing and that sort of creating the oxygen and being released into the atmosphere and creating the atmosphere. And that was from these little like plankton-like things, but not bacteria, the microbes in the oceans. And that big that air is still the air and the atmosphere that we have. I didn't know till recently. It's is it 70? It's the percentage of this for the numbers, but that Matisse was referring to the other night, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting to know. For me anyway, maybe not for you. If I can get that up. We were talking about the respiratory problems, so I've been working with doing more Wim Hof breathing, and I highly recommend that you breathe more from your nose, not your mouth. Mouth is for eating, and even when you're exercising, it's recommended that you breathe from the nose. Or another thing to do is like tape the mouth up, unless you're obviously got a cold and not well, then that's a no-no. I think it was 70, can't find it, pages and pages of my studies. The percentage, just bear with me. Up to the bottom page. Well, I can't remember the exact percentage. It was around the 70 mark, and 20 for oxygen, 1% was it nitrous oxide, but the rest were all things like viruses, bacteria, and things in the environment. So obviously your body filters that through. So if you're breathing correctly and you're health of your lungs is like building up, because everything's a muscle, it's like building up those muscles. So if you're doing that, that's one thing you can do to help boost your immune system if you're fearful of getting sick. But we all so that was the air, and then obviously water, so the plastics. I mean, I saw that Sky report, which I think was just almost really emotional to watch, that I shared on Nature Fan Lead Love Lead, but how that water from the lakes in Africa is now filtering through, and they're looking at the microbes of the plastics in the water and the fishes, and how that's getting into the food source, and kind of it's scary to think about that, but time for us to take responsibility for these things, because who else will? And then the positive side to that, which is now nature's sort of fighting her battle back by actually she's created and developed microbes that actually eat the plastic. So I definitely believe in the wellness and the abundance of our world, and not that it's the end of the world, but I do think we do need to take steps to be responsible for how we treat our body, how we treat our environment and those around us. And this is something that these shifts and this time is a good time to maybe reflect on, for the moon to release maybe the things that we know we should be doing but not. So I recommend you spend some time detoxing. So physically detoxing, you can do things like juice cleanse, water cleansing is a good time to be doing this, as well as a bath, a salt bath, Epsom salt bath. One of the other things that I would recommend doing with the sound stuff that I've been learning with Matthias, the ancient, it's like Sanskrit, but it's the Atlantean dialect of that. One of the sounds, which is like Om, is that. If you can create that sound, I find lying in the bath, and actually if you can sort of lay back under the water, that frequency, which will affect the brain, can kind of reset you as well, is a really good way. So, or any theta kind of meditations you've got. But if you haven't got technology, because one of the things that I was going to recommend, which for me personally is hard, I do love to watch some telly and the good old Marvel movies and stuff with the kids, but to have a bigger digital detox. We are surrounded, and this is one of the things that smudging can help with, because the negative particles latch onto the positive particles that the electrical devices around you create more of. And obviously we have got so much more electronics around us than we did ever before, and we want to utilize these things. They're amazing creations that can help our life, but we want to be able to balance that out so it's not affecting us. So earthing mats, earthing more, getting out in nature, all of these things right now, I recommend them all the time anyway, but right now is a really good time to be doing that for the full moon. So to smudge, so to cleanse your, and you do that in a ritualistic manner. You can do that with the intention. But these are all things that can help. I'm trying to talk of this between the science, like broach this bridge between, as I'm literally between mother and father, the spiritual and the logical, from coming at it from both angles, and they meet in the middle, for me personally. So yeah, those are the things I recommend. And I'll to set yourself up if you want to have ceremony today, and for those of you that will be joining me and having the recording now, I know it's actually up and working. I kind of half recorded it yesterday with separate from here to edit, so it needs editing now. And so energetically it was recorded prior. However, just spend some time in meditation, spend some time in contemplation. In the ceremony we'll go through some journal prompts that can help you maybe get to some of your patterns, because I think I put this down as subconscious belief systems. As I said, that Neptune, where are we disillusioned? Where are we not seeing the bigger picture? Ask yourself these things. Spend some time connecting to, depending on your thought belief system, whether you believe in God, source, universe, goddess, doesn't really matter what you call it, the higher power, an understanding of the photonic light in our world and how it works. Whatever you choose to see it, the perception you choose to see it, evaluate it. Just look at that and spend some time with that. And if you feel like you need a good cry, and if you feel like you want to go, that's okay too, because we get all spiritual about we must be up here and high, but actually this 5D is about coming down to earth. It's about bringing heaven here on earth. And as the Hopi, that you see those pictures of the split of those that maybe are the old and the new, we have the potential to be here. That we need to sort of talk about new earth. It's not another place, it's another way of thinking, it's another way of being, it's embodying you being the best you, health holistically, like the ancients once did, but with our modern understanding and knowing of what this can do and how we can be the best person. It sounds a bit cliche, but maybe the Pisces in Venus in me and the Neptune Sagittarius in my start makes me see things and want to be and know this utopic world. I know though that down to earth Capricorn knows that in order for that to happen, the more of us need to be aware, and the more of us that wake up and do our own work. And when I say work, I mean strive to be who we can be by following our bliss and giving the best of us to the world. Demonstrating, being the light, means that light, literally, because we are made of light, we are photonic light within us, we're made up from the molecular, that's what science says. That's not esoteric, that's coming from a scientific point of view. We can then shine that out, and that wave, the wave within the particle within that, we then send that ripple out for others to tune to that too, and to see that more. So spend some time, go and have a salt bath today or over the next couple of weeks. Spend some time clearing out. If something comes up that literally eclipses you and knocks you for six, know that whatever is happening now, whatever is ending now, is destined. It's not meant to be. It will be for your highest good, this growth. It may be painful to go through, it may not. I'm not saying that is, you don't need necessarily manifest that. You can allow this time for you to move with it rather than being shoved. Use that shove as momentum, like you're on the roller coaster, but you're prepared, you're ready for that ride. Not, oh my God, I'm on a roller coaster and I want to get off. Knowing that there is a bigger picture, and see ahead of you. So my love and my blessings, and hopefully I will see you at my ceremony. We will be, as I said, doing some journaling, some sound vibration, some deep breath work, as well as a guided alignment meditation and a forgiveness ceremony. So if that appeals to you, you can still book the tickets. I will be recording this afternoon, as I had intended yesterday when it didn't work in the morning, but I'm going with the flow. I'm going with what has to happen. So I know that the right people, everything is divine timing. So the energy maybe for me yesterday wasn't right. And as I create these ceremonies as energy containers, it will be right. And I trust that to be the case. And if it doesn't take place, I trust that to be the case. I trust it to be that sense of surrender and knowing that everything is in my highest good and in your highest good. So love and blessings, happy full moon, and just, if you're obviously not doing the ceremony, then just know that, hang on, let me Feel your heart, dear one. Even put your hand on your pulse. Feel the life within you, the miracle that is you. And as the quote from my thing says yesterday, when you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. It's the quote from Buddha on my daily affirmations. And I will just pull a card for those that are not. It's the ceremony. These are Carl Gray's Keepers of the Light. A message for anyone that's watching now or watching later. These are just tools, in my opinions, to connect to. I know Michael came through yesterday, and the royal stars that are aligning as well. There's like 4 royal stars associated with the ancients. This is one from Persia, and that particular life and culture has deep meaning to me, as too has the ancient Egyptian. Isis, magic manifesting. Your dreams, visions and goals are becoming reality. Stay focused. So stay focused on the things that you want and let go of that which no longer serves you, would be my reading into that one. Because they say generally not to manifest around this time. That doesn't mean that you can't research, you can't look into what's right and the right path. My love and blessings. Have a fabulous day, and I will see you